calling this meeting to order. Yeah. I'm calling this meeting to order. What else?
I would do a roll call.
Just say roll call.
Madam Clerk, please take a roll call.
Please take a roll call.
Abby? Here. Catherine?
Here. Jillian? Here. Sky? Here. Emily? Here. Anderson?
Here.
Merrick?
Here.
Kevin?
Here.
Elias?
Here.
Holden?
Here.
Mason?
Here.
Alice?
Here.
All please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now is the time and place for public communications.
Is there anyone here for public comments?
Anyone here for public comments?
You just say we're closing public comments.
We are closing public comments.
You can just read special presentation and just read the title of this.
Okay. All right. Special presentation. Presentations by student teams from El Segundo High School on the topic, what can the city of El Segundo do to prepare for the workforce of the future?
And then you could just say, city manager, who's presented on this item?
City manager, who's presented on this item?
We'll do period 1 first.
All right.
Yeah.
Period 1.
Cool.
Workforce of the future has The workforce of the future has rapidly and constantly changed as technology has grown. Through our research, we have found that the 20-minute neighborhood has become more popular. A 20-minute neighborhood means that all services within a residential city are available within a 20-minute travel distance. In hopes to get a better understanding of this idea, we have thought of ways such as creating more transportation services, which our public works team will touch on later in this video. Furthermore, the workforce of the future cannot survive without appropriate available education opportunities, such as internships and certain programs to ensure the future generation is prepared for the workplace.
According to a 2018 survey conducted by Deloitte, a global consulting firm, 77% of Gen Z participants expressed the importance of working for organizations that share their values, particularly concerning climate change. Compared to older generations, Gen Z in the United States shows much greater concern about climate change. This worldview is shared worldwide as a 2021 UK survey conducted by Bupa, a health insurance company, revealed that 64% of respondents aged 18 to 22 consider it important for employees to take action on environmental issues, and 59% indicated they will remain with ecologically responsible employers for a longer period.
Similarly, in Australia, young workers have quit their jobs in companies that fail to adequately address climate change. So, we find it fair to assume that a workforce that takes pride in an environmentally responsible workplace would also value an ecologically conscious community. To alleviate the modern workforce's environmental concerns and general well-being, we have decided to offer amenities to the citizens of El Segundo, such as an updated bike lane system, public rentable e-bikes, an influx of public green spaces, and an ecologically conscious Main Street.
According to Edward Benjamin, chairman of the Light Electric Vehicle Association, 880,000 e-bikes were purchased in America in 2021, while only 608,000 electric cars and trucks were sold. Meaning environmentally conscious Americans, such as the workforce of tomorrow, prefer a cost-efficient and compact e-bike to an electric vehicle. To accommodate those with preference for bikes, we propose expanding El Segundo's bike lanes to run along popular roads such as Mariposa Ave, Grand Ave, Main Street, and Maple Avenue, along with a trail running on the dirt lot alongside Imperial Ave to prioritize the safety of our bikers. For Main Street specifically, we would introduce a protected two-way bike lane by dedicating one of the current parking lanes. We also plan to offer public rentable e-bikes through a collaboration with El Segundo's local bicycle businesses.
Additionally, we propose a canopied Main Street to help improve the mental well-being of El Segundo citizens. According to Ming Ku from the Department of Natural Resources and Environmental Sciences, University of Illinois, greenery has always been associated with a range of psychological benefits, including reduced levels of stress and improved mood, self-esteem, and cognitive function. We hope to introduce our residents to these benefits by planting trees along the sidewalks of Main Street to encourage human connection through shade and uplifting general ambiance, in addition to carnival lights with the purpose of fostering nighttime walks and outdoor dining. In conclusion, by reducing the overall environmental impact of El Segundo, while also incorporating greenery into our city planning, we seek to appeal to an environmentally conscious workforce of the future.
The future of the workforce relies on accommodation. One of the main forms of accommodation is parking spaces available for workers to park their cars and to get to work. Especially with the lack of parking spaces in El Segundo, according to Siegel Commercial, a real estate expert, the problem in the Smoky Hollows district is that industrial buildings lack the spaces needed to conform to the city code as creative offices. This can cause employees frustrations and stress, which can affect their interest in working in Smoky Hollows.
What we do is create a parking structure where we can have all of Smoky Hollow parked there and free up some space on the street. To make it where you need a parking pass so you can park in the parking lot if you work in the area of Smoky Hollow, with security protecting the parking lot to avoid any break-ins.
What is your name?
Adriana.
And where do you work?
Pit stop El Segundo.
Alright. And a quick question. How do you feel about the parking in Smoky Hollow? Or in this area?
It's always very packed. There's no parking near my work area, so I always have to park a couple blocks down. It's very scary.
By implementing parking structures in the middle of Smoky Hollows, it can provide an access point for workers to park their vehicles and get to their places of employment. Workers would pay a small fare a year to gain access to parking permits, which would allow them to specifically park in these structures. It will not be available to people who are not a part of the workforce in El Segundo. In addition to the parking structures, having public electrical biking stations can add an additional access to transportation from the parking structures to their specific jobs.
Public electrical biking stations can be placed throughout Smoky Hollow with the main biking station placed at the parking structure. This way, workers in the district can park the cars, take a bike, and then ride it to their jobs, returning it to the nearest station that is set throughout the area. We can also place a biking station at the park so workers are able to access it in case they need it. According to the CDC, parks are a well-designed public amenity that can provide a place for people to be physically active in order to relieve any feelings of stress as well as improve their mental health.
Station in the park, this can give workers access to a public good that was built for everyone's use. They can take their breaks by biking to the park within the Smoky Hollows district to take their lunch or just for fresh air. According to Roger Harabin, BCC environmental analyst, electric bikes can help return people to work. Professor Nick Airy studied that electric bikes need to be a part of the plan for major investment we need in transport to get people moving safely again in ways that are economically and environmentally sustainable.
El Segundo is an amazing city with a lot of opportunities for jobs, education, and much more. According to the WorldPopulationReview.com, this graph shows the population of El Segundo as of 2023. Around 900 of these residents are students at El Segundo High School, according to PublicSchoolReview.com. The city of El Segundo should run a job fair for anybody who is interested in the companies around the town, such as Raytheon, Boeing, Mattel, and so much more. The city can have all of these companies offer internships and job opportunities for people who want to specifically join that company's workforce.
According to Ms. Savage, the College and Career Counselor, the College and Career Center does have internships and job listing listed on a QR code outside of the classroom, but it'd be nice to have more defense manufacturing companies such as aerospace, Boeing, and other companies to list more internships for kids in high school. We would like to expand the South Bay Workforce Investment Board to El Segundo. The city of El Segundo already contributes to it at the Hawthorne and Inglewood locations. We would like to expand it to the El Segundo Teen Center, just as already at Hawthorne, and Inglewood Teen Center.
In today's world, high school students from El Segundo are looking to participate in internships with specific companies such as Boeing, Raytheon, Mattel, etc. to enhance their education. This will not only increase their skills, but also boost their college resume, facilitating their admission to the college of their choice and enabling them to enter the workforce sooner.
Dan Schauble, founder of Millennial Branding and author of Promote Yourself. The new rules for career success highlights the importance of high school students building their careers early on. In today's economy, students have to start building their careers in high school in order to better compete in the college admissions process, for college internships and eventually full-time jobs, he noted. With this in mind, undertaking internships during high school in companies of interest such as Boeing, Raytheon, and Mattel can offer valuable experiences and give students an edge in their career pursuits.
Our group was tasked with finding ways to improve the future of El Segundo's workforce through changes in education, in hopes to elevate the standard for working conditions, teachings, and focusing on preparation for a new age workforce. Additionally, we were asked to find ways to improve food services in the city in a way that would positively impact El Segundo's future workability and efficiency.
We reached out to El Segundo Public Library, speaking with manager Mark Herbert on ways to establish beneficial classes such as computer literacy for both students and adults to attend. The access to face-to-face learning would ensure that attendees would have the ability to fully learn the technology that will power the future workforce in years to come.
This idea has already been discussed before, with El Segundo Public Library implementing a computer literacy program for only adults, though this program could not last as multiple issues arose.
First, additional funding from the city is required to supply computers for the public designated specifically for the class. Additionally, older participants might find it difficult translating the information they receive in class to their specific device at home. For example, transferring Windows information to Mac computers. Also, meeting times will be dependent on the notion the library or computer literate volunteers will be able to provide services on a regularly scheduled weekly or bi-monthly basis, and a central location for meetings would need to be established.
To solve these issues, the library could hire students at El Segundo High School who engage with iPads on a daily basis and have learned basic digital skills throughout their time at ESUSD to primarily perform drop-in sessions, bringing digital lessons directly to residents' homes. This proposition would both present a practical job opportunity for El Segundo students and allow them to practice and develop social skills, a vital skill for future workers. Research by David Deming, a professor at the Graduate School of Education at Harvard, shows that workers using a combination of both social and technical skills fare best in the modern economy, as measured by a 7.2% increase in available jobs and a 26% wage increase between 1980 and 2012. Furthermore, by starting the computer literacy course through drop-in sessions, the library could gauge the level of attendance and consider further promotion to gain more attraction without having to wait for the city's annual budget process to propose an idea for funding.
The World Health Organization revealed the worldwide leading causes of death to be cardiovascular disease and diabetes, stemming from the abundance of unhealthy and processed food that are distributed at a large number of restaurants, stores, and etc.
Luckily, many of El Segundo's food establishments offer a wide variety of healthy and diverse options. Though these dishes are present on practically every street, the often higher prices for more established dining causes many residents to favor the convenient and cheaper alternative, fast food. Restaurants in El Segundo could offer cooking demonstrations to residents at a low rate to promote culinary education and inspire residents to buy cheap and fresh produce to create healthy and beneficial meals. Restaurants could buy produce from their wholesalers at a bulk price and create a box of proportioned products that are available for purchase, along with a tutorial on how to create the dish.
Similar ideas have recently been reported on as the Eating and Cooking Healthy Teach Kitchen was founded at the Medical College of Georgia in 2015. A chef and dietitian led Teach investigators on creating a series of nutritionally educational seminars and cooking sessions focused on diabetes, hyperlipidemia, obesity, and hypertension.
City leaders could create a similar organization to the Teach initiative, promoting the many positive health benefits to this program and attracting residents to the participating restaurants. Assigning a specific day for all restaurants to participate in the program means residents would have to choose between cooking courses on the assigned night. Instead, similar to the Kiwanis Club membership, Different restaurants could opt into the cooking program, and residential members could go to any of the establishments on the days decided by the restaurants.
According to Robert Geloth, education and internships should become more linked in the future, at high school and college levels. Work-based learning, according to Brookings Institution and Child Trends, has resulted in young people maintaining good-paying jobs by age 29, after working with mentors and interning. With prior experience as an intern, young people are more likely to stick with the career for a long period of time. Given this knowledge, we believe that local entertainment businesses such as the LA Kings and Lakers should connect with high school students for unpaid internships and paid internships for college students. These opportunities are great for students trying to break into the field of entertainment. This gives students a baseline knowledge of how to work in the entertainment industry at a young age. A study done by pwc.com/people explains the traits of the workforce of the future. New technologies such as artificial intelligence and automation in the workplace. Future employers must adapt to this new technology by valuing both collectivism and individualism. Each and every employee must be treated equally to meet their needs as a worker. This will result in more efficient work and can even cut internal and external costs within a company. In order to create a more friendly work environment in El Segundo, we suggest that the City of El Segundo works with Topgolf El Segundo. Topgolf could offer a weekly deal for businesses to host private events. This is a great opportunity for local businesses to hold team building events, making employees feel more comfortable working with their colleagues. According to Kendra McDonald of Forbes.com, business collaboration increases overall growth and helps de-risk new projects within a business. In order for a small local business to grow an idea, there must be investors and suppliers to help you grow. Luckily, in El Segundo, we have many local businesses that have the ability to help each other grow. According to Spiceworks.com, about 68% of respondents indicated their organization had collaborated with other business within the last 12 months to share data and insights. We are proposing a night funded by the City of El Segundo in which local businesses come together at a local venue in Smoky Hollow. This night will include a complimentary dinner followed by an event such as karaoke or an open mic night for our local businesses. The purpose of this night is to have local businesses exchange information, business growth through collaboration, and ensure an ethical and successful workforce right here in El Segundo.
El Segundo, a vibrant city with a thriving community. When it comes to medical facilities, it falls short. While El Segundo does have medical facilities, they are primarily specialized centers and may not boast the highest ratings, nor do the citizens tend to use the services here. In case of an emergency, time is of the essence. But for residents of El Segundo, accessing the nearest hospital can be an arduous journey. With limited options nearby, families often find themselves struggling to navigate through traffic and long distances, causing delays that can be life-threatening. However, there's a hidden opportunity amidst the challenges. El Segundo has its own police and fire department, and it sure has the potential to benefit from its own hospital. Take, for instance, this abandoned building, a potential site for a community medical center. With the right resources and investment, it could be transformed into the state-of-the-art healthcare facility. Such a hospital would provide immediate medical assistance to the residents, ensuring their safety during emergencies. No longer would they have to face the daunting task of traveling long distances, potentially risking their lives. Proximity of a local hospital would bring peace of mind and save precious time.
But the benefits don't end there. Imagine the possibilities for students in El Segundo. This hospital could serve as a perfect research opportunity and an indirect internship portal for students from El Segundo High School, Da Vinci schools, and other private institutions. Students would gain first-hand experience working alongside medical professionals, conducting research, and learning about various medical specialties. It would be an educational hub fostering a passion for healthcare and opening doors to future careers in medicine. El Segundo already is a city with the highest PhDs and has the potential to become a hub of medical excellence, with a community-focused hospital that caters to the needs of its residents. By repurposing the abandoned building, the city can provide better healthcare access, educational opportunities, and ensure the well-being of its citizens and future workforce.
The hotels in El Segundo have enjoyed remarkable success, catering to travelers seeking convenience and comfort. Being just minutes away from the airport, they offer a gateway to the vibrant city and its surrounding attractions. But there is an opportunity that waits, an opportunity to further enhance the hospitality scene in El Segundo. By expanding our options to improve on Airbnb accommodations, we can tap into a growing trend that provides unique experiences for travelers. By making Airbnb permits more attainable, we can unlock the potential of local homes, apartments, and other unique spaces. This would not only offer visitors more options, but also benefit the community, providing a new stream of income for residents.
And as we look ahead to exciting events like the 2026 World Cup and the 2028 Olympics, El Segundo has an incredible opportunity to capitalize on the influx of international visitors. By expanding our hospitality offerings, we can ensure that every guest finds a place to call home in our city. We can revitalize and repurpose the buildings of miscellaneous hotels, transforming them into contemporary accommodations that reflect the spirit of El Segundo. This will not only attract more tourists, but also boost our local economy and provide job opportunities for our community. El Segundo has already made its mark in the hospitality industry. Now let's take it to the next level by embracing Airbnbs and reimagining our existing infrastructure. We can create a truly unforgettable experience for every visitor who sets foot in our remarkable city and open new career opportunities for residents.
All right, colleagues, we're open for questions and comments. Am I supposed to go answer the question? Okay. Yeah. Can I ask a question from here? Go up there. Okay. Are you guys ready for questions?
We're ready.
Do you guys adhere to a two-part question?
We do it here.
So how big is that open lot for the hospital?
So the open lot for the hospital, we understand that it will be congested in PCH because it is in Pacific Coast Highway, but we do believe that we could have the infrastructure and we could remodel it so there is enough space for that. Furthermore, the abandoned building doesn't have to be the ideal situation, but we see fit that as the city is now, that probably would be the most ideal situation. But as we've seen, companies like Raytheon have open space for infrastructure such as our urgent care, so that could happen most likely in the future.
And the second question is, who would be funding this? How would it get funded?
So we would get funded, one, from the city, but also from private institutions. As I mentioned, we are having a focus on education, and it wasn't shown in the video, but we would also have colleges such as USC or Santa Monica College be a part of those opportunities. So we hope that they would also see the mutual benefit and, contribute to that as well.
Okay, my question is regarding the cooking classes. How would they exactly benefit the workforce of the future?
So, in terms of food, one thing that we were thinking was that promoting positive health and just having residents understand what they're actually putting into their bodies is very beneficial to just a long-lasting life and just overall city positivity in general. And in terms of targeting a way to kind of take the focus off of fast food, because it's not that fast food is kind of more kind of common than these healthy restaurants that are offering like vegan and vegetarian options and gluten-free and such, but it's just the convenience of it, and that many residents may not know how to cook or prepare these certain ingredients together. So this would just provide just one way, and I'm positive that there are countless other ways to promote health in the city, but just one way that we could get residents a way to make sure that they have the right ingredients and the right amount of ingredients for whatever household they may be supporting, and just overall promote a longer lasting lifestyle that ultimately means people working for longer and people working healthier, jobs and healthier lives with less, time off and everything.
All right, so my question is, how can you justify taking away a whole parking lane for the two-way bike lane when you later said that the lack of parking in El Segundo is a major problem that leads to distressed workers?
Well, we ideally would have more parking structures built on the sides instead of prioritizing street parking, such as the 99-cent store parking structure, which is free to everyone for use. And also we're talking about, other committees are talking about allowing employees to use designated parking areas, and those are usually the people that are taking up street parking because that's where they're working.
Okay, I have a follow-up question. Where would you plan to build these parking structures? Because I believe in one of the pictures you showed, that is privately owned land and a private parking lot. So where would you build these parking structures?
Well, we can either buy privately owned land or ask to rent the land or even offer them an opportunity to build a structure through taxpayer money and bonds, and then they can monetize that.
My question is also regarding the cooking classes. What do you think the incentive for the restaurants would be to hold those cooking classes?
So I'd say the cooking class would allow, like I said, a little focus to come off of fast food. And though we're not trying to lower sales in high businesses like McDonald's or anything like that, by promoting easy access to clean ingredients and green ingredients and everything, as well as just proportioned. And if the restaurants are buying in bulk, they may be able to sell for cheaper because they're going to be buying directly from their wholesalers. But I think the incentive for restaurants would primarily be that it would just gain further attraction and allow customers to understand truly what they can make, but also what they can go out and get for themselves, rather than just thinking, you know, what am I hungry for? A burger, I'll go here. So I think it just expands the possibilities for residents here. And though there are so many opportunities in El Segundo for countless different subjects, not all of them are always taken advantage of. So this is just one opportunity to kind of shine a little more light on one of the many positive aspects of the city.
Okay, my question is about the Airbnb. So if we're talking about preparing for like the future workforce, I think that people would need a more permanent housing solution so they don't have to worry about it. So my question is, can we make that possible through Airbnb?
So for Airbnb, it's more so an opportunity for the people who own the house. It's a way of income for them. But to answer your question, the best way for that is that we believe that quality will triumph quantity, and we have a lot of hotels in El Segundo, so we think that it's best to use like miscellaneous hotels or hotels that are what can be seen as underutilized and refurbish them so that they are up to standard for the future workforce. Thank you.
This is also again about the hotels. Sorry, coming up again. How does opening more like Airbnbs directly help El Segundo prepare for the workforce of the future?
So we believe that Airbnbs will help for the future workforce because Airbnb, as it stands in El Segundo, it is very difficult to get a permit. And we believe that uplifting it is a solution that, for one, is could be realistic. And it would help the future workforce because it's a new source of income for people. International people or international visitors go to El Segundo as a hub for anything that we have here to offer. And we feel that Airbnb is an exclusive way to introduce these people to our neighborhood and, you know, really know what El Segundo has to offer other than a hotel like located in PCH. While they are glorious, they do have their limits to that. So we just feel like Airbnbs would offer a new insight to our city. Thank you.
How would you get funding for the parking lot, and do you have a budget for how much it would cost approximately? The Smoky Hollow one is specific.
So it would cost around $30,000 a minimum, and then it would take 6 to 10 months to build, so the residents in that area would not be affected for too long.
So the entire parking structure would cost $30,000?
Around of a minimum.
How many, would it be a multi-level
It
parking?
would just be a two-story.
A two-story?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that was just a very low number. I'm surprised. So I've heard a lot about how detrimental Airbnbs are to a housing market, as well as people don't like to live next to them. People, their house prices go up because of other people buying these Airbnbs. So what is your idea of how that could help more than the negatives?
So we understand that as it stands with our economy and everything, that the housing crisis is a real thing and it's just getting worse and worse. But we do believe that in the grand scheme of things, for our city and where we're going, we are headed towards bigger events such as the Olympics and the World Cup, all of that stuff. And we believe that this is an opportunity, a really easy fix to make income. Like I said before in the previous question, Airbnbs, they do offer a new input to the city, whereas in hotels, you're more congested in the refined area that you know. And in Airbnb, you get the feel of the neighborhood. Plus, we do have a beach that is not as utilized as our neighboring cities. And with the Airbnbs, we could have it so those beaches are used. So that's my answer. Thank you.
And for the Hawthorne and Inglewood teen centers, what are they doing that we could use in our own teen center?
So the Hawthorne and Inglewood Teen Centers are just examples of what happens when we get a large group of companies and put them together for internships. So we want to expand ours, since we do not have one of those, to our teen center so that we can offer internships to our students and to anybody who wants to specialize in some companies around El Segundo.
Just a follow-up on that. Is that a desk that connects you to the one stop at Hawthorne?
Yeah, it's directly connected to the Hawthorne Teen Center from the. Yes, they do staff it.
Is that staffed by the city of Hawthorne, or is it staffed by the you know?
I believe it is. I believe it is staffed by the city of Hawthorne.
I had a question about the bike lanes and where they're going to be. So if we are going to have charging stations or reusable bikes, where and how many are there going to be for the residents?
Ideally, wherever we have our public lots, I think that would be a great place. Think about how they have the Tesla charging stations in a lot of public parking lots and privatized lots. I think it would be interesting to do the same thing with our electric bikes.
Well, I just had a question because we showed the small park for the video. If we had, 30, 40 bikes there, it's going to be almost the whole park is going to be bikes, so it's no longer going to be a park. So how many would be in each location so it wouldn't be an inconvenience?
I would say probably 10.
Okay.
I have a question for Shane's group. When looking into these companies and their internships, how could the city help with them?
The city can help maintain these companies and provide them and ask them for people to come together to a certain meeting spot, such as Library Park, to meet for a internship program, so that all of them can meet together and offer internships for students at high school or for anybody who wants it.
Thank you for your presentation.
Okay, your presentation was really good. I really enjoyed your ideas. And this is a pretty generalized question. I don't know who this would pretty much go to, but you mentioned a lot of ideas about the surroundings for the businesses and stuff like that, but nothing specific to what is going to make those businesses more attractive. Yeah, there's going to be parking, but that's not a huge, it is a huge thing, but what about the business is going to be attractive? I don't know how to word that, but hopefully you understand it.
I think everything our group is focused on is internal and external factors within our city and our businesses that all can positively benefit our workforce right here. And all the things we've suggested, we believe make a difference in the quality of working in El Segundo.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, we are ready for the next presentation, please.
Thank you, period 1. We'll have period 2 present now.
This is our Period 2 Workforce of the Future Civic State project. Firstly, let's focus on the workers of the future. From our studies, we have found that in the decades to come, workers will be more data literate and become comfortable with working with AI intelligence.
The workers of the future will also be more confident and have higher standards for themselves. They will not let management and people walk all over them. This also means that they would want more opportunities to climb the corporate ladder, gain more benefits and promotions.
Along with them being more comfortable with technology, they will likely be more open and willing to do hybrid work so they can spend more time with their family and have overall free time. They will be also well-rounded, diverse, and creative.
El Segundo is an incredible town that has a plethora of assets that make it an attractive place to live. However, to continue to ensure it stays the best city in Southern California, El Segundo needs to innovate and prepare for the workforce of the future.
Us, Mr. Gas Period 2 class, have created a plan that we think has fully prepared El Segundo to accommodate for this future workforce. First, let's discuss education.
Additionally, some internships and starting jobs either require previous technical training or give applicants some initial technical training. As part of our efforts to supply the workforce of the future, we will incorporate an easier method of getting current high school students access to what they need so they can get an early start on their careers. In a research study conducted by Bruce E. Phillips, internships can be win-win situations for both the company and the employee. Philip continues, the internships are a dress rehearsal for life, a chance for students to gain real-world experience in their field. Internships also give employers a chance to recruit and evaluate future employees.
To learn more about internship opportunities at El Segundo High School, we talked to the head of our College and Career Center, Ms. Civic.
We asked Ms. Civic how the school obtains internships, and she told us she either receives them from a company or reaches out to companies to see if they have internships available. We asked if students could reach out about internships on their own, and she said that students reaching out directly is the best way to get involved in a career. We asked where most of the internships come from, and she told us many different STEM fields. We asked how many students have applied for internships, and she told us there are only about 10 students currently in an internship program, with more having applied. We asked how many students currently attend SCROC, and she told us there are only 15 to 20 students currently attending.
We will assist the students of El Segundo by creating easier access to SCROC, which will teach them other skills that high school doesn't right now. Instead of taking pointless classes that students use just to fill their A through G requirements, as well as TA classes, we want students taking classes that can help develop their professional career by learning valuable skills. Some classes SCROC provides include art and design, engineering and design, and health and sciences, as well as public and consumer services. All these courses will allow students of the El Segundo High School to engage in a subject that they were not previously able to engage in. These classes will ultimately help students as they prepare to leave high school and enter the workforce.
Currently, the school, and more specifically Ms. Civic, sends intermittent emails about current internship opportunities. We plan to organize all the current open internship opportunities into a cohesive document which will then be printed and placed in every classroom at El Segundo High School. Additionally, every month, the same document will be posted on the El Segundo High School's social media accounts, so students can easily find current offerings. Additionally, we will spread awareness of SCROC both through the social media accounts and by including it in the school newspaper and weekly video.
Next, let's discuss businesses.
According to the website Zurich, studies have shown that Gen Z takes up 30% of the world's population and just happens to be the first worldwide generation. This being said, by 2025, Gen Z will take up 27% of the workforce, meaning we will need to find a way to introduce new jobs to the new generations. We posted a poll asking people if you would rather work in a small family-owned business or a large corporate business, and with 181 responses, 56.1% said that they would rather work in a small business, as 43.9% said larger business. One thing we need to work on is helping the companies and businesses not only get more customers, but attract more people to our city. Without proper marketing and advertising, a lot of these small businesses and companies have a hard time reaching out. Creating a career fair would be a great way for our city to give people of all ages a chance to learn about jobs.
An El Segundo Career Fair would be a collaboration between the City of El Segundo and as many of its businesses as possible, both big and small. A website with all of the businesses attending and a map will be created prior, and attendees can also pre-register and upload their resumes. At the fair, businesses can set up a stall similar to a farmer's market and connect with the attendees. A possible venue could be Main Street with a similar setup to the farmer's market as well. It also could be held at other local venues. Each business would be there to talk to potential customers, but more importantly, potential employees. They can advertise their products and also what openings they have or even what internships are available. The fair would be hosted once a year around the time of graduation so that we can give ESHS graduates a chance to stay within El Segundo to work. And by hosting the fair within El Segundo, it gives the businesses a chance to connect with the residents of the community that they are a part of.
Although engineering is a prominent career force in El Segundo, art and graphic design are growing in popularity. Graphic designers are needed in many fields such as advertising for businesses and product design. Many young graphic designers are being recognized for their work even as undergraduates in college. An engaging opportunity for both high school students and college undergraduates would be a collaboration between small businesses and young artists to create advertisements for local businesses being represented in the career fair. This could bring attention to the creative talent of El Segundo. The career fair could advertise this opportunity and employ young people in our growing workforce. Combining two aspects of graphic design and growing career opportunities into a small subsection of the fair could potentially attract young people to a new labor force here in El Segundo.
A job fair in El Segundo would allow not only bigger, more corporate companies to have a bigger pulling pool from, but any small businesses in El Segundo would also be able to pull from that pool. According to developcarlsbad.org, it was shown that after a recent job fair, candidates searched far harder and significantly increased their chance of obtaining a job. On the other hand, for employers, they gained a better understanding of what their labor pooling pool would look like, and also then increased the employer's chance to hire candidates. A El Segundo job fair would give all the companies access to tech school and college graduates, as well as any highly skilled employers. This will then increase the chance of employers getting employees who are actually qualified for the jobs. Lastly, as shown in the Bea Career Fair, the conference attracted more than 4,600 students in total and over 4,400 professionals, as well as many of the top employers such as NASA, Apple, Martin Corp, and even AT&T. El Segundo could easily recreate something like this by bringing in the bigger corporations like Boeing, SpaceX, Aerospace Corp, and even Mattel. This would allow for prime talent to be attracted to El Segundo.
Next, we will discuss housing.
To stimulate both job growth and lower housing prices, cities modernizing and preparing for the future should examine San Francisco and its boroughs, which are increasing their use of multi-use districts. These multi-use districts take advantage of the city's open skyline to create high-density luxury and family-oriented residences. American Legal Publishing, looking over the San Francisco Planning Code, has stated, "The district is also designed to encourage the expansion of retail, business service, and commercial and cultural arts activities." The problems that inspired this solution affected every single member of their community. Housing prices, long commute times, and almost 80% of jobs in the Bay Area were accessible solely through independent car travel, and highway congestion reached a peak of an increase of 22% in 2015 compared to 2014, and is continuously increasing. The San Francisco Bay Area Planning and Urban Research Association outlined the key factors influencing the most efficient zoning plan, being its proximity to public transit, and other companies stating that proximity to companies in the same industry can benefit businesses by fostering innovation.
Another factor that drives a new workforce is housing. According to an urban study by Sage Publications, cities with less affordable housing tend to experience slower employment growth because equilibrium land rents are so high that the supply of land must have reached some constraints. So where will our workers live? A study done by El Segundo High School students taking data on 187 El Segundo residents and workers exemplifies the need for housing. Data from this poll addresses the public opinion on affordable housing in El Segundo, with 84.5% of residents agreeing that the salary of one job is not enough for living in El Segundo, with a major percentage of poll participants agreeing that one job salary is not enough to live comfortably. About 65.7% of said participants also believe renting is more optimal when looking for housing in El Segundo.
El Segundo's growth should be fueled by these highly productive and efficient zones. El Segundo's strategic plan for 2023 to 2026 fiscal years included a goal of engaging in a dialogue about housing east of Pacific Coast Highway while preserving the R1 zone, and identifying areas within the community that are appropriate for housing, that meets all criteria and research highlighted by multiple city planning organizations. The Point Shopping District being off of PCH and Rosecrans, being a block or two at most from public transit, and having a vacant land size of around 1 million square feet. El Segundo's multi-use district could attract thousands more to participate in our economic development. Our plan is to create a multi-use district with luxurious apartments complexes on top of businesses. With this new development in housing, we can attract more businesses and bring in a new generation of people into El Segundo.
Now we will discuss transportation.
According to Richard Florida, professor at the University of Toronto School of Cities and Rotman School of Management, 74.6% of Americans commute alone to work. With more than half of the American population commuting, it is reasonable to assume that the future of the workforce will most likely have to commute into El Segundo in order to work.
When further questioned in a poll about e-bike usage, 53.4% of El Segundo respondents said they would use e-bikes and scooters. E-bikes are found to be increasing in popularity as well, as seen in the difference of e-bikes supplied between 2015 and 2019, as the docked bike shared system almost doubled. In addition, about 29.9% of El Segundo respondents said they saw e-bikes as a main mode of transportation in the future. Therefore, not only does the research imply that e-bikes will be impactful to the future workforce's commute, but the residents of El Segundo agree with the addition of e-bikes into the community. The buffered lanes could be used on larger and heavily trafficked streets like Grand, El Segundo Boulevard, Imperial Highway, and Main Street, all of which are heavily populated, and buffered lanes would allow for safer cyclist travel, therefore creating a more mobile environment to those on e-bikes. The cost of a buffered bike lane ranges from $2 to $9.33 per foot. To create more conventional bike lanes, the cost comes out to be about 83 cents per foot. This will allow for more movement of the future workforce and is relatively simple to implement overall. To accommodate this, we want to reform the beach shuttle, which runs every summer and spring break on weekends. Currently, the beach shuttle provides free transport with a rec ID. We want to change this to where you can obtain a separate shuttle pass that would be a monthly fee and its own car. This would potentially be an add-on for the ID card at the high school, where students could then have easier access to transportation. The beach shuttle would turn to a more leisure and work-focused shuttle, where it would still run to the beach during the summers, but during the school year, it would add stops that ran to the streets closest to internships, the point in various locations across El Segundo, like campus. The new shuttle would run every day from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. and would hopefully be funded by the monthly use fee.
Although El Segundo is full of trees and bushes, there is a lot of work that could be done. Green areas can create many benefits for the town and our people. This includes, but is not limited to, promoting physical activity and community engagement, improving air quality, temperature control, and positive youth development, linked to lower levels of healthcare, spending, and higher levels of financial security, enhances cognitive function and attention, and reduces stress, anxiety, and depression. Many of the streets are gray and full of cracks, so they could definitely be repaired. This would cost roughly between $125 to $375 per 5x5 sidewalk slab. And while this might get expensive, improvements to our sidewalks would create more mobility within the community. El Segundo has a hardiness zone of 10B, meaning we have low temperatures of 35 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Therefore, some colorful plants and flowers we can grow include daisies, lilacs, poppies, salvia, morning glory, wildflower, and flannel bush. After refurbishing our streets and existing plants, we can add a community green space, starting with the smaller parks such as Kansas Park, Sycamore Park, Hilltop Park, and Acacia Park. Adding some greenery around the outskirts would make the parks more inviting. Now, for the larger parks, Independence Park would be a great space for a community garden. This will allow people to socialize and learn how to grow some of their own produce.
As we know, El Segundo is a very business-friendly city. This is something that brings in tons of revenue to the town and stimulates the local economy. Although El Segundo does have many attractive businesses, there's one that it is missing: a movie theater. Movie theaters are something that attract a ton of people, businesses, and jobs. In 2021, movie theaters across the United States collectively generated over $9 billion in revenue, according to Statista.com. Aside from revenue, a theater would also contribute to the local economy by creating many new jobs within the community. The average movie theater in the U.S. has about 39.3 employees, according to IBIS World. Lastly, a theater would create a lot of foot traffic within the town, which would in turn attract more people to other businesses and the town in general.
There are multiple prime locations for the construction of a theater. The Plaza El Segundo offers a prime location which would be near multiple shopping centers, which would generate a significant number of foot traffic in the area. The Pacific Corporate Towers are a set of 3 20-story buildings for rent at 100, 200, and 222 North Pacific Coast Highway. The city would be able to either rent or purchase the first 3 floors of any of these buildings, and then remodel it to allow for a theater to be built. Each floor has approximately 24,500 square feet of space, which would be more than enough to build a theater there. The buildings have a combined parking lot with 5,000 spaces, which would be enough for the workers and the consumers that go to the theater combined. The existence of the movie theater underneath the corporate building would not only draw in individuals who might want to rent the building spaces for their company of their own, but also encourage workers that work at the building to stay after they are done with their shift and harbor a sense of community between them.
A brand new 12,000 square foot 2-story theater of this size would roughly cost around $2.7 million, according to RS Media data. It would be the heart of Plaza El Segundo, drawing on lots of business for those also sharing the plaza, as well as the point. For the Pacific Corporate Towers, a few floors could be rented out, offering a cheaper option because no new build is required. It would cost roughly $500,000 to $900,000, which is a much cheaper option for an entirely new build. We believe this would be a great investment to bring business and foot traffic to Plaza El Segundo, or the Pacific Corporate Towers and surrounding areas. We are aware that the city cannot control what businesses move in and out of El Segundo. However, the city can provide incentives for businesses such as tax relief, streamlined permitting, planning assistance, and promotional support. Tax incentives are one of the biggest means of attracting new businesses. However, the city can also promote its connection to the businesses by providing analytical data such as demographics provided by properties.federalrealty.com. To summarize, the city can play a big part in attracting new businesses such as movie theaters to the area by collaborating and participating with potential business investors.
There might be questions about where the city will get the money to incorporate all these new ideas. From our research, we have found that the city can use funds from the American Rescue Plan Act and put it towards transportation of passengers, private nonprofit organizations, and special purpose units of local governments. The city could also issue and sell municipal bonds in order to raise money for some of the projects. El Segundo is full of small businesses, and luckily, the American Rescue Plan provides $10 billion to state governments to fund small business expansion.
Thank you for listening to our plan to improve El Segundo for the future workforce.
Investing in employees.
Okay, we're going to open for questions and comments from my colleagues, but do keep in mind that we have 10 minutes for this part, so keep it quick. All right, Alice, we're going to start with you. Just when everyone's ready.
Just want to say great video. So I have a question about the job fair. You said that it will be open to ESHS students. Will it only be available to those students, or will it be open to the public, and how will you get the word out?
Of course, it won't just be limited to El Segundo High School students. The idea of a job fair not only would help those students, but also help other residents of El Segundo and of the surrounding areas. So it would obviously be open to anyone of any age looking to get a job. The idea for getting a word out could include not only advertising at the high school through our social media pages and at our College and Career Center, but El Segundo has many places in which we could hang up flyers, we could run advertisements on television. It's not impossible, of course. And El Segundo is a very tight-knit community. If we spread the word to enough people, it will be spread even further through other social media pages, including the El Segundo Parents Network, which we all know it reaches a lot of people here.
Thank you.
So when you guys started to talk about the multi-use districts and you guys showed a picture of land near those railroad tracks, if I'm not mistaken, that is where the Chargers are going to be, their big facility. So is that the picture of where you want to actually build your stuff, or was that just a picture you guys added?
No, that's exactly where we want to go build all of our stuff. We're trying to build all the houses, not houses, but complexes right over there.
But with that, the Chargers do, if I'm not mistaken, have most of that area, so wouldn't that be a little bit conflicting?
Yeah, no, that would. I don't know that.
Do you have a way or how you are going to fix that?
I think the Chargers Fair is a little north, but you're talking about between the railroad tracks?
Yeah, exactly.
But the question is, we don't own that land. That land is owned by two railroads. How would you plan on getting the railroads to consolidate those tracks?
That's a good question.
I mean, because railroads are big, national, cumbersome pieces. It's doable. It's expensive.
Yeah, so I know it's going to be pretty expensive to try to outbid them for that, but I think the only solution right now is to try to outbid them for that land. I mean, I truly think that we get that land, we can really build all those housing right there, and then we can probably bring in more people to El Segundo by those houses. Thank you.
You guys were talking about affordable housing. You guys were talking about affordable housing in El Segundo, but the average cost of an El Segundo house is about $1.4 million, and like give or take, you knock down 10 houses to build a complex. You're already looking at $14 million worth of houses you have to reimburse people. So even if you didn't get that land, where else could you put the affordable housing? Because we have such a tight community that it would cost almost more for the city to have affordable housing than it would to just have the houses already.
So there's not really we have a select area where we want to rebuild apartments and stuff like that. It's going to be right next to Chevron. But the thing is, the city has no control of whether or not the housing or anything like that can be built. All we can really do is just leave a suggestion and really try to rebuild all the older housing complexes over there and try and make bigger ones.
So this is for the beach shuttle, and so I feel like the problem is not to pay for it. I feel like not enough people use it as is, and so I feel like if you're going to charge for that, there's going to be even less usage, because I don't think it's as used as it should be. But if you start making it cost, I don't even think it'll be used to the extent it is now.
Okay. Yeah, so the beach shuttle already has a cost. It's just added onto the rec ID when you pay for it. But what we're trying to implement is where the beach shuttle has multi-use, where it would be advertised towards high school students as well to get them to like certain internships and around locations if they don't have a car, and it would make for more public transport, and it wouldn't be solely for like high school students, but it would be for the entire community. And I think That would allow for more people to actually use it, especially if it was advertised differently. And currently, like, the beach shuttle only runs during spring and summer breaks. And so if we utilized it more and gave it more use, I think it would be used long term for a wider range of things.
I have a question to follow up on that. So if you guys were to implement a bus pass for just exclusively the buses, will you knock down the fee on the rec park card, or will it still have the same fee and then it will still have the same perks of the bus pass, or is it going to be a completely exclusive thing?
It would be like a completely exclusive thing, like two separate items. The rec ID, I mean, we really don't have any control over how much that costs, but, you know, if we were to talk to the parks about it, I would say that it would probably be a lowered cost, although it isn't very expensive now. I think the beach shuttle pass would just be separate, yeah.
My question's for the movie theater group. So we kind of live in an age where like streaming services are like the king, and some may consider that movie theaters are kind of like a dying industry. So how could you justify like putting a movie theater? Where are you gonna put it?
Okay, so the movie theater idea has more to do with the amount of like foot traffic and business it would attract to the city. And while streaming services are very popular, movie theaters have kind of a different appeal to them, where they're kind of like a gathering place, a social kind of thing. Whereas streaming services are like at home, like, you know, individual. Movie theaters would attract more people to act like El Segundo itself, while streaming services are kind of like not exclusive, like they're not exclusive to specific locations. So you could like stream in places like Westchester or Manhattan Beach, while like a movie theater is actually going to bring people to El Segundo. That makes sense.
So this is for the like internships group, the education. So a lot of it was about setting up internships within like the high school. Are there any ways that we would be able to set up internships with like the local colleges?
Probably yes, it just takes communication with them. We just focus mostly on the high school, since if you're in El Segundo going to high school at El Segundo, you're more likely to take an internship in El Segundo. Whereas if you go to some college outside of the high school, you can find internships like further away as well. But I do think with the aerospace industry in El Segundo, it would probably be a benefit to reach out to all those colleges and see if they would be willing to partner with some internships in El Segundo.
All right, so I have more questions for the internship group. I was not quite clear what your intent is with SCROC. Do you intend that to be mandatory classes, or do you intend to incentivize students to take that?
The main thing right now is SCROC offers a lot of great classes for high school students that give them like hands-on technical training, and there's not a lot of people taking SCROC classes right now. So we really want to bring awareness to it, as like this is an option that you have when you're in high school. It counts for credits already. We make sure to check with Civic, and you might learn like a new skill that you really enjoy, and maybe that's something you want to do in the future. You don't know. So it's really just bringing awareness to it, so more students are willing to go to SCROC and learn those skills.
Just want to make it more well-known. Okay.
Yeah.
Also about connecting graphic designers, student graphic designers with businesses. Is your intent to give free labor to these businesses with nothing to the artists at all?
No, of course not. The idea for that is a partnership between those businesses and the career fair, which would open them up to give them more access to the graphic designers and their services, which they would obviously charge for. The idea is to have a separate section of the career fair where those businesses can specifically connect with the graphic designers to give them access to more advertisement. And since graphic designers, a lot of them are working more independently versus with a company, it would mean that El Segundo would be more attractive to people wanting to live here and work from home as a graphic designer. And if we give them access to those businesses through the career fair, it would give them more business opportunities and make El Segundo a more ideal place for them to live and to work from home within graphic design.
So your intent is to connect businesses together through the career fair, not students, businesses to businesses.
The idea is to connect people who want jobs and internships to the businesses who have jobs and internships open.
Oh, this is kind of unrelated. This is for the apartments. You said your plan was to build luxury apartments. How can you justify building luxury apartments when the main problem of El Segundo is not enough housing and too expensive housing?
So with the luxury apartments, we're gonna really try to attract the younger workforce into here. With the younger workforce, more people are going to college, so they're making more money. So with the more money that they're making, they can easily be able to live in those luxury apartments.
Excuse me, Gary. Sorry, just so that we have like 20 seconds left. We got like 2 more people, so we kind of need to speed it up. Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah,
No, you're
that
good.
was
You're
it.
good.
No, that was it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're good. I'm sorry, but
No,
it's just
I got my
now we have 5 seconds, so yeah, we just gotta like get to the last 2 questions. Just like wrap up your answer. Yeah.
No, that was it.
Okay,
just
cool.
more people making more money. They can easily live in the luxury apartments. Thank you.
Time is up. Questions are closed.
All right, we're gonna start the next video.
Thank you, period 2. We'll now be doing period 3.
How should the city of El Segundo prepare for the future workforce? Based on the book Cyber Practices, employees want opportunity for upward mobility, an innovative and dynamic workplace, and an easy commute to work. To encourage the workforce to move to El Segundo, the city should promote multi-use districts. According to Linda Corkery, a professor at the University of New South Wales, multi-use neighborhoods are on the rise because they provide convenient access to the essentials of daily life, along with creating a sense of community for residents. Furthermore, employers need improvement in the workforce through improvement in education. Maria Ferguson, an executive director on the Center of Education Policy at George Washington University, explains that only 35% of employers are confident that U.S. graduates have sufficient skills to give them a competitive advantage in the workplace. This leads us to recommend a few changes to the city to make El Segundo more desirable for the future workforce.
Since the 1970s, entrepreneurship has declined. Studies reveal that there's an association between the decline of GDP and entrepreneurship. Had GDP growth rates remained the same since 1970, the economy would have been 50% larger in 2022. An entrepreneur is someone who takes existing resources and allocates them towards new value. Data taken from studying the rate of market activity, specifically the rate of firm entry and exit, shows a decline by 6 percentage points since 1978 to 2019. Now, what could be causing this? There are many factors like slowing population growth, aging labor force, reduced competition, and the need for larger investments to make smaller innovations. However, the profound issue is government regulations involving taxes and spending. Taxes drastically reduce incentives for entrepreneurship. If a higher income level, marginal rates increase, and because of that, it reduces the payoff in innovations and discourages entrepreneurs from making risky investments. Essentially, high tax rates on entrepreneurs is a tax rate on success. But with the essential education, entrepreneurs can learn to make well-informed decisions to mitigate tax impacts. Recent studies performed by Iowa State University show that there is a rise in entrepreneurship activity associated with an increase in higher education, with nearly a 1.12 increase for women and a 0.88 increase for men. If that seems underwhelming, a data report based on degree and job employment reveals that 62% of entrepreneurs have a bachelor's degree and 11% a master's. Not to mention, entrepreneurs who have a degree earn more money.
What do entrepreneurs want? Money, connectivity, and a driven community. What community near you has all that? El Segundo. There's no better place for business than our hometown, and the companies that stay here know it. What those companies want more of, though, is a new generation that's inspired to work and pave their way in this world, which is why we propose an entrepreneurship seminar/fair. This fair will connect local and international businesses to the bright minds of the future. This seminar will present and guide this community with the tools and opportunities that are available to help them do great things. It will take place at the high school on a weekend, and it will begin with a seminar in the auditorium. The speaker will come to educate people and facilitate the seminar, but will be a direct engagement with the audience to not only promote the discussion among students and participants, but to also provide a glimpse of the confidence that a successful entrepreneur possesses. After the seminar, the main event will proceed outside of the school, with Main Street being blocked off and a perimeter set around, extending from the main entrance of the school to the end of Library Park. Within this zone, there will be an organized row of booths operated by the many businesses that reside here in El Segundo, as well as outside of the city. At these booths, people can have one-on-one conversations with business representatives that are promoting their products and services, as well as offering a scope of job opportunities. Local restaurants and outside ones, too, will be invited and paid to help cater to the attendees, providing delicious meals to satisfy everyone. During the event, there will be occasional raffles with a range of small prizes to larger prizes. Booths can also hold their own prize events, such as listing a QR on their booth, which takes attendees to their social media, where there will be information about gaining entry in a giveaway. Throughout the zone, there will be stands to hand out maps, providing participants wayfinding access for specific booths and zones around the event. And of course, to ensure the safety of the event participants, ESPD will be there to provide security and even announce their own job opportunity.
One method to improve the education and workforce of the future in El Segundo is to introduce an internship program where high school and college students can interact with businesses in order to specialize these students with skills these businesses require. Having internships available for high school and college students in El Segundo presents countless benefits for both the interns and companies. Internships allow companies to invest in their future success and discover new talent and future leaders. This is a great opportunity for companies in El Segundo to strengthen their workplace. Internships offer new experience, exploration, skill development, and networking.
It's statistically proven that seniors who have internship experience are more likely to have opportunities and become successful in their future careers. According to the NACE, paid interns are twice as likely to land a job after graduation compared to non-interns. Paid interns get an average of 1.61 job offers after graduation, while non-interns get an average of 0.77. Additionally, you're 16% more likely to get hired if you have an internship experience over somebody without it. Finally, 70% of interns end up getting hired by the same company that they interned with. If internships are put in place for these larger companies within El Segundo, the size of their workforce will increase.
Ultimately, we've decided the best way to put these internships in place would be to implement them as soon as the city of El Segundo contracts one of these companies to do something for the city.
To organize the internships, we split the companies into 3 tiers. Tier 1 includes companies that make more than $27 billion in revenue yearly and must require 25 permanent interns at the companies. These companies include AT&T, Boeing, Chevron, Raytheon, Spectrum, Kite Pharma, and Northrop Grumman. Tier 2 is companies that make $1.6 billion to $12.8 billion in revenue yearly and must require 15 interns. These companies include Mattel, Cetera, Internet Brands, and Infineon. Tier 3 is comprised of companies that make $1.6 billion or less in revenue per year and requires 10 interns for each company. These companies include Connecta, Aerospace Corporation, Beyond Meat, LA Times, and Stamps.com. This program will reevaluate the companies in El Segundo every year and recategorize these companies if necessary.
In order to fulfill the intern positions, companies should advertise at local colleges and community colleges to attract the young population of eager students looking for intern opportunities in order to prepare them for a job.
El Segundo has a diverse workforce, and to attract our future workers, diverse entertainment is something to strive for. While we do have events in our city, they usually cater to residents rather than the workforce. By having more events proposed, the working community and the residential community can come together, which will make El Segundo's culture stronger as a whole. When the people come together, the workers of the future are encouraged to come to our city.
One idea to shape El Segundo to have adequate entertainment for workers of the future is large festivals and events at the beach. These could be excellent sources of revenue for the city. As an example, in 2021, Redondo Beach's Beach Life Festival generated $8.4 million for the city. Events similar to this festival or Manhattan Beach's 6-man volleyball tournament could be organized. The main obstacle with holding similar events in El Segundo is parking. Our solution would be to use the parking lot at the end of Grand for event staff and equipment vehicles, and event attendees could park in the Dockweiler parking lot, with El Segundo Beach shuttles moving people to and from the parking lots, dropping them off at the end of Grand, as shown on screen.
We would like to introduce the idea of a culture festival. This festival would be hosted on Main Street, and we would invite people from the community and companies to set up tents to display food, music, or arts and crafts of the culture that is celebrated. How the culture will be determined will be depending on the month. If it's Asian History Month, then the Asian culture will be celebrated throughout the festival. We hope that this brings people out of their homes to interact and learn with each other.
Many of our neighboring communities take advantage of the space on the beach and hold big festivals that raise money for the community. The city of El Segundo has their own beach that should be used for bigger events to draw in crowds and revenue. For example, the 3-day music festival known as Beach Life, located in Redondo Beach, has made over $9 million and attracts over 25,000 people yearly. El Segundo Beach has the space for a bigger festival, which could help benefit our community in countless ways. In addition, El Segundo should hold more events and gatherings similar to the farmers market to draw in more people from outside communities and make our town a more inclusive and welcoming environment. Providing warm and welcoming events not only creates a fun experience for attendees, but also helps raise money for the town's needs.
Funding for these events can come from local corporations such as Connecta and Chevron, and they will be reimbursed via tax write-offs.
Housing in El Segundo. The overall problem within El Segundo is the underutilization of land within Smoky Hollow, as well as the need for convenient and affordable apartment complexes along Main Street and the Point. Both issues within El Segundo are rather possibilities for what El Segundo can do to achieve an even more prosperous future. The current problem within Smoky Hollow is the lack of development in a place where amenities are rather close, making for what we believe would be an excellent place to repurpose commercial properties into subtle work environments. A survey taken from over 12,000 El Segundo residents shows the criteria and conditions expected for housing in El Segundo.
46% of respondents listed being close to public amenities like schools, restaurants, and shops, and another 8% listed safety amenities like police, fire, and emergency departments as their main housing priorities, which lines up perfectly with our plan to expand housing in downtown El Segundo and to the point. With our cost of living 236% over the national average and 565 households, or 67%, facing housing and renter burdens, 400 of which are by rent, now is no better time to focus on lowering costs of housing and rent within El Segundo.
With companies like Boeing, Raytheon, and Chevron all based in our town, it is only logical to facilitate the growth of El Segundo alongside these giant corporations. The data doesn't lie either, with 13.2% of El Segundo residents looking to expand downtown, 44.9% for land east of PCH, and 22.9% for Smoky Hollow. That gives us around a total of 82% of El Segundo residents that support these expansions. Our renovations to downtown Smoky Hollow and the Point fit the mixed housing and repurposed commercial sites criteria that 50% of El Segundo residents want to see in their city.
With El Segundo expanding housing into commercial areas such as Smoky Hollow and the Point, the increasing population will create a demand for high-quality amenities, dining, and recreational activities nearby. Our solution is mixed-use structures, which accommodates both the demand for affordable housing as well as accessible and convenient necessities. Mixed-use buildings could include convenient stores, gyms, parks, pools, or libraries, sharing structures with residential housing. By repurposing and rebuilding areas such as Smoky Hollow or the Point and integrating multi-use structures, El Segundo's current potential can offer entrepreneurial opportunity while at the same time building convenient and affordable housing, which its workers will be able and want to live in. With job opportunities, housing, and amenities all at hand, El Segundo offers a highly accessible and comfortable experience of living, all while utilizing the structures and streets of the city's full potential.
Bring more people to El Segundo, we want to build off of the entertainment aspect and bring new, innovative ideas to the food industry. We're focusing on enhancing the Point and El Segundo Plaza.
In terms of focusing on the Point, we want to dive deeper into the aspect of parking garages and opening up spaces to further extend shops and restaurants, ultimately bringing more revenue into the city. According to the Redondo Beach Daily Breeze, they put the price of a 2-level subterranean structure at $18.6 million and a 3-level option at $32.8 million. The above-ground portion was estimated between $14 million and $19.7 million. Although the addition of this parking structure would be pricey, according to an analysis of the city's budget, a 2-level structure with about 340 stalls would generate roughly $472,000.
To draw more visitors in to spend time in El Segundo, we want to suggest the inclusion of a few additional well-known chain restaurants. Some of these might include Din Tai Fung, Houston's, and Benihana. To take advantage of our beautiful beaches and attract more consumers, we would also like to add more rooftop bars and restaurants with oceanfront views.
The area in red is where we believe is the best location for a parking garage. Turning this area into a 3 to 4 level parking structure would create much more room for parking without taking up as much space. This could also open up the opportunity for valet parking to bring in more profits and allow for more people to park. According to European Blue Valet statistics, consumers spend on average 12 minutes looking for parking before they opt in to pay for parking, which would seriously help restaurants, possibly seeing a 20% growth due to offering these services. Adding a parking garage would allow the Point to extend into the area in green, opening up space for more restaurants and businesses, along with area for outdoor activities within the Point.
One way to bring more consumers to the beautiful beaches of El Segundo would be to add more accessible food areas to this location. We've seen the success in Manhattan Beach and Redondo with food trucks, snack shacks, and beachfront restaurants. While the food we do have in El Segundo is great, adding these new things will bring in consumers and add to the livelihood of the town.
Hello, we are the Green Space Committee.
Using our research about the workforce of the future, we've developed several propositions for the city to consider, as green space is an essential part to life in El Segundo. A study showed that the effect of proximity to green space on children 55% less chance of having psychiatric disorders, like stress, anxiety, and substance abuse.
I would like to show you guys how we would like to add green space to Smoky Hollow. This includes turning concrete ground into small spaces of green space, including succulents, flowers, brushes, and trees. In an attempt to not mess up the workflow, we also encourage green space on rooftops like these images below. We also want to include green space on the ground level in an attempt to beautify the location. We specifically want to add in trees as this opens up the space and provides lots of oxygen to the area. We've learned that with green space, mental health is improved and there is an improved social cohesion. Since Smoky Hollow is a business district, we think that this can help with business productivity as well as encourage businesses to move to El Segundo's Smoky Hollow since the space will be extremely nice and have the benefits of El Segundo business practices.
Hi, I'm in charge of the remodeling of the El Segundo Dog Park and with the inclusion of a walking trail. In order to beautify the city and encourage families, often big families who have dogs, to come to El Segundo, we want to remodel the dog park. The dog park of the present is predominantly made up of dirt. According to research, dogs prefer lush green land to frolic area, alongside the inclusion of dog-friendly bushes, flowers, dog-related devices such as water fountains, and arbor. We also want to include modern benches as well as new fencing for the park. This will allow for dog owners to spend more time in the park and feel a larger sense of community. By the dog park, there is a grassy pathway that is fenced off by the hotel. We want to transform this area into a bit of a simple trail so people can walk from their homes or park nearby and go on a long walk with their dog. To change this trail, we want to start by removing the overgrown grass and cutting it to a reasonable length. We also want to plant local flora and fauna that is native to the area, specifically that flora and fauna found in the Blue Butterfly Preserve.
To revamp Washington and Independence parks, we want to add bike racks, gazebos with tables and benches underneath, gym equipment, new paved walking paths, water features and decorative landscaping, and new playground equipment. Adding the bike racks will allow people to easily access the park without needing to find parking. The new gym equipment will attract individuals looking to work out outside and motivate people to be active. The new paved trails will allow the community to use the park and ride skateboards, scooters, and roller skates. The water features and landscaping will make the park more desirable and pleasing to use.
So in order to pay for the cost of the green space in El Segundo, we want to slowly dip into the Parks and Rec budget. This could include taking a small amount out but not using too much, since our project does include some personal things like a rooftop green space. Those can be included as tax breaks for some companies if they include additional green space on their location.
As for updating the beach access for El Segundo, we plan on investing in a trolley along Grand Avenue that would attract many to the streets and jobs alongside the streetcar. Our beach trolley transports the public from Rec Park to El Segundo Beach and would cost between $200,000 to $800,000. Heritage streetcars going for about $25,000 to $35,000 each. To fund the beach trolley, we are looking to reach out to local businesses and LA County, whose fiscal year 2024 proposed budget consists of $9 billion. Over the course of some years, we will use these funds to make up for the costs that are not covered by the $700,000 budget the city of El Segundo has for transportation.
Because this trolley only extends from Eucalyptus Drive to Vista Del Mar, we will update the beach shuttle to drop off at the trolley and expand pickup locations to the industrial Smoky Hollow area. The shuttle and trolley would run from 10 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. from April 1st to September 10th. Hiring staff to manage throughout all service hours could provide more job opportunities, which can boost the economy.
With all these new ideas of entertainment, like concerts, there will be a lot of traffic that comes with it. To combat this, we plan on introducing the idea of electric bikes. E-bikes will help limit the traffic of cars and people are able to travel without having to actually bike the hilly terrain that we live in. According to a survey conducted by MacArthur in 2013, 60% of people want e-bikes because of the hilly terrain, while 50% want to ride bikes with less effort. Both these pieces of data support why e-bikes would be a great idea for El Segundo through its hilly terrain. For the e-bike stations, we plan to build 4 around the city that are located in most important and popular areas of the city. According to e-bike generation, to fund each bike will be from $1,300 to $1,500 and rental will be around $10. So just 150 uses of an e-bike and it is already profitable. The station itself is also around $1,500 per unit and there would be 10 e-bikes at each station. To charge an e-bike, it costs around 7 cents and according to ecoscostsavings.com, it can cost an average of $29.38 per bike to charge per year. The second idea to improve e-bikes is to add more bike lanes to El Segundo. According to a study by New York City and the 2 U.S. cities that started building modern protected bike lanes, bike commuting doubled just in 5 years. To fund the bike lanes, according to safetyfhwa.gov, the price can range from $5,000 to $50,000 per mile. This improvement ultimately provides connection to every area of El Segundo.
Return to the workforce of the future, our innovations in transportation provide easy access to any part of the city. The internship programs connect employers to workers and an option to build skills early on. Our multi-use neighborhoods provide entertainment, green spaces, and housing for workers.
All right, colleagues, we're going to open for questions and comments, and we're going to start with Abby's side this time. That's right. I was about to say that. Thanks, Alice. Yeah.
So my first question is for Simone. Just to clarify, how would you guys get access to these public beaches for events similar to Beach Life and the volleyball tournament?
Well, it would definitely have to be cleared with El Segundo itself, and also for where parking dips into Dockweiler Beach, we'd be clearing through LA County.
My question is about the internships. I saw that you broke up the businesses into tiers and you're planning on having a contract with those businesses. Will you include like having a contract with like the local small businesses too to have internships for them?
Yeah, so we were mainly focusing on the big businesses, so it wasn't like as much of a financial burden for the smaller businesses because we were looking for paid internships because we knew that increased the success rate of people getting hired. So for now, at least, we want to limit it to those larger businesses so they can afford the interns.
All right, so I wanted some clarification on your point about expanding housing into the point. The point is currently privately owned and not zoned for a residential area. So how do you plan to expand housing into there?
So for the housing plan in El Segundo, it was mere like a proposition of what construction companies can do. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to make it convenient and affordable, and for doing that, we wanted to build up. That's why we proposed downtown El Segundo building up, and obviously they're all private companies, like if we wanted to build above Blue Butterfly. So it's rather a proposition, and it's up to these private companies if they want to enact and get property taxes for El Segundo.
My question is about the trolley. I'm just wondering if the beach shuttle is needed to connect people to the trolley, then what's the point of the trolley at all if it's such a small section?
The point, so the beach shuttle is picking up all these people like from the industrial area. It's like expanding the routes, and then the beach trolley is like more you can see in other cities it's very like successful and popular. Like it can attract other people from other towns just to ride on that beach trolley, and so that's like the point where we have the beach shuttle picking everyone up, but then that trolley would expand that mile to the beach, so that will attract more people. Yeah.
Would you put that? Did you put only the track trolleys or the ones that are they're effectively electric buses just shaped like tracks?
It would run like along one of the lanes on like a track. Mm-hmm.
Okay, my question is about the parking structures. So I think from the picture it was on like Rosecrans, but that's pretty far away from any like main or downtown area in El Segundo. So are there any other places that a parking garage could go?
That idea was mainly just to suggest more parking for the point in particular. It wasn't about downtown El Segundo. While that could use more parking, the parking at the point is not a good experience for everyone. So I think that it would be a good idea to expand the parking there, and that's what that was focusing on.
This is talking about your tier system for the businesses. What kind of benefits would you offer to businesses to get them to agree to these contracts?
Right, so the whole program itself is seen as kind of a cooperation rather than like seeming like we're requiring them to do it. It's an investment into their future, as these are going to be employees that can be hired and contribute to the workforce. And as well as it's benefits the city as well, because then these employees are exposed to the city of El Segundo and all of its benefits as well. And if this was not the ultimate benefit for these corporations and it didn't pay off in investments, we wanted to also maybe experiment with some slight tax breaks as well. But mainly it would work as a cooperation between the city employees and the businesses.
How would we attract restaurants to come to places like The Point in downtown El Segundo?
I mean, it would draw business to their companies to be in somewhere like El Segundo, but it would also benefit El Segundo because people travel far distances for restaurants. And so, like, it would bring people not only to El Segundo, but it would also promote the businesses by them coming here.
So I had a question about the space near the airport where you guys are going to build on the beach, and you guys specifically said between the airport and Vista Del Mar, you can't build on that area that's owned by the airport, and it would be a danger to the people on there. And on top of that, the city owns El Segundo Beach and Dockweiler, so you would have to get permission from the city of Los Angeles to do anything, and you would have noise issues with the entire thing. So if you have live venues like music, they're going to be constantly taken over by the airports, causing the people most likely not wanting to be there.
So talking about airport noise and also what land is owned by the airport or not,
If you saw the diagram, our parking and all of our transportation solutions for these festivals do not include the land that is owned by LAX. I myself am quite aware of why this land is not used, why it is dangerous, why noise complaints happen. But often when you look at festivals such as Beach Life or other music festivals, things are usually loud enough that they're heard and they lack complaints. And also, just in general, when people are coming together for events like this, they focus less on external factors and more internal factors of what's happening there. And by having people focus on what is actually happening around them, they're more likely not to notice airport noise.
You guys talked about building up above the businesses on Main Streets and those places. One, do you guys know what you would do about parking? Because parking is already an issue there, and adding residents would just add more people and more parking. And also, do you guys have a cost or an expense of how much that would be?
So the cost for El Segundo wouldn't actually be doing it itself. It would be a private construction company's building. And based off of like what Miranda did about proposing the parking lot, it would kind of go hand on hand with building on the point if they were to give us permission. So it would be building above the point like how we see in Starbucks on Grand. And that would be provided by the parking within Miranda's group.
All right, we're gonna get ready for the next video.
Thank you, period 3. We'll be doing period 5 now.
El Segundo is a welcoming, multi-purpose city home to large and small businesses alike. While El Segundo has thrived over the years, the changing workforce of the future will pose some challenges that the city will need to address head-on. The workforce of the coming years will be the most diverse one yet, with the majority of new workers being women, people of color, and immigrants. Age-wise, there will be a shift towards younger and older workers. Work trends show a sharp increase in the number of workers under 25, but also in workers over the age of 45, a trend expected to continue into the future. Increases in immigration and changes in birth rates are leading to the most diverse workforce we have ever seen. In the U.S., birth rates are much higher among POC as opposed to white demographics, therefore meaning that young workers in the future will consist mostly of people of color. Net immigration is projected to steadily increase over the coming years, boosting the size and growth of the working-age immigrant population and more so.
The workforce needs to be prepared to work alongside and with more technology, as the impact it has in businesses is only going to increase. However, as change occurs, it is predicted that the economy will adjust as it has in the past, as workers will learn to work with the technology, not be replaced by it.
But as demographics shift and the world becomes increasingly diverse, it's important for us to address the issue of cultural inclusion in our community. So how can we improve diversity and cultural inclusion in El Segundo? There are a number of approaches that can be taken. First amongst our ideas include a stand at the farmers market that members of the community can sign up for to express their cultural identity and help promote general inclusiveness amongst all El Segundo demographics. Along this vein, we also propose an El Segundo Pride event to make LGBTQ+ also feel welcomed in this El Segundo community. When we took a poll, we found that people would welcome it and would also want to participate in such an event. With this, we can attract new cultures and promote the community by welcoming new and unique cultures to El Segundo.
From the busy Main Street to the quiet residential neighborhoods, El Segundo is home to a diverse group of people. However, recent data shows that there's room for improvement when it comes to cultural inclusion. While El Segundo is far more diverse than some neighboring cities, there is still a need for more representation and inclusion of underrepresented groups. With the upcoming years since 2010, the diversity in El Segundo has gone up in increments, but not by a lot.
We can improve diversity by including nearby cities such as Hawthorne, Torrance in a big citywide event that is similar to the Richmond Street Fair or opening day for the Little League. We will have culture booths throughout the city with popular foods, dances, and singing. It will be a citywide event that welcomes inclusivity and diversity. With the data from our poll, we know that people will like to include more diversity and inclusivity into El Segundo with cultural events. This is a fun way to include more diversity in weekly events that already happen in El Segundo. We can include neighboring cities to promote inclusivity in El Segundo and make El Segundo a welcoming city for the future demographic workforces. and making sure that everyone is included and feels welcome in El Segundo.
The most popular cities and towns in America have various things in common, with the most eminent being the cultural opportunities that they have. Most, if not all of the cities appearing on Forbes' list for America's best small towns clearly show an appreciation for culture. From analyzing various cities that appear on Forbes' list, I found that a few of them have sensational farmers markets. And from my research on attractive qualities of cities and towns, I found that cultural opportunities ranked high among most of the lists. This data was found from sources such as the Architectural Digest. That being said, I would like to focus some of our efforts on improving our local farmers market. After reviewing some of the comments left by people on Yelp, I found that the current state of the market was really small. There was not many vendors, the live music was not very lively or engaging, and someone even said that it's quote-unquote not much at all. With that being said, I present to you the new and improved El Segundo Farmers Market. I added many more stalls and decided to max it out at around 20 for the current allotted area. This would increase the number and variety of businesses to the area while not making it too crowded, so that the connection between the business owners and the customers would be maintained. This creates space for more small businesses to sell their goods, possibly from their own culture, and expand their audience. By including these small businesses, the owners are able to speak to the customers, and in turn, the customers get to know more about what they're buying, together creating a sense of community. Another thing I included was a small activity for children, or willing adults, where events such as arts and crafts or storytelling could be held to promote community involvement and multicultural awareness. These activities would include multicultural arts and crafts such as these, or storytelling of children's books about cultures around the world. From increasing the diversity of stalls, including different musicians, and implementing a cultural activity area, all who attend the market will have a positive impact left on them because of the cultural awareness that was promoted there. In itself, cultural awareness helps us avoid misjudging people from various cultural backgrounds by understanding the impact and influences of different cultures and respecting them from this new understanding. Additionally, by including a wider range of businesses, the market itself will attract a wider range of people. And by increasing the amount of people coming to El Segundo, sales for our local businesses and restaurants will also be promoted.
We think that another great addition to the city of El Segundo and an efficient way to attract people to the city would be creating El Segundo's own public transportation system. 4 in 5 people say they want to live in places where they have a variety of options to get to jobs, school, or other daily needs, according to a survey by Transportation for America of Americans ages 18 to 34 in 10 major U.S. cities. 3 in 4 said it is likely they would live in a place where they do not need a car to get around. However, a majority of people rated their own cities either fair or poor in providing public transportation, and they want more options. The current public transportation system running through El Segundo is Beach Cities Transit. The routes of this system are very limited and insufficient for people who need to reach all parts of the city for jobs and other purposes. Beach Cities Transit mainly only runs through Imperial Highway, Imperial Ave, Main Street, Grand, and Sepulveda. El Segundo's system would reach all parts of the city, making it an efficient way for people from all around the city to get to work, school, and other places. Bus stops would be placed at each of the schools in El Segundo and at each of the parks. There would also be stops placed at popular attractions such as Topgolf and The Point. A stop would be added to downtown El Segundo to provide access to popular restaurants and shops, as well as a stop at the beach. Several other additional stops would be added to ensure that all parts of the city are accessible. Not only is the current transportation system in El Segundo limited, but it is harmful to the environment. Beach Cities Transit uses El Dorado National buses, which are all powered by compressed natural gas. Compressed natural gas is a gasoline and diesel fuel alternative consisting primarily of methane, which is the primary contributor to the formation of ground-level ozone. This is a hazardous air pollutant and greenhouse gas that causes 1 million premature deaths every year. El Segundo's new transportation system would run on Green Power Motor Company's buses. These buses are significantly more environmentally friendly because they're electric and battery powered. This means that there are no harmful chemicals from exhaust and zero emissions. According to Union of Concerned Scientists, a nonprofit organization, battery electric buses had 70% lower global warming emissions than a diesel or natural gas bus. Researchers at Cornell University also discovered that if just over a quarter of privately owned cars and a slightly larger share of commercial vehicles were electric, the cuts in air pollution could prevent almost 17,500 deaths nationwide. Beach Cities Transit buses seat up to 43 passengers and cost approximately $520,000. The Green Power Motor Company buses seat 40 passengers plus an additional 2 wheelchairs and 25 standing, which is more than the current transportation system in El Segundo can accommodate. These buses cost approximately $820,000, and while they are more expensive than the compressed natural gas buses, they also require less maintenance, meaning lower operating costs. Adam Fisher, the former transportation director for the city of Greensboro, calculated that switching to an electric bus would save nearly $160,000 in fuel and $185,000 in maintenance over the bus's lifetime. So even with the higher initial costs, these buses save money for the city. Creating El Segundo's own public transportation system would be a great way to improve the city and allow future workers to efficiently travel to all parts of the city to get to their jobs.
The future of our planet is headed to one of two places: a polluted, unlivable society, or a clean and green, sustainable one. The workforce of the future is going to want to live in a city like option 2, a city that prioritizes the incorporation of native greenery, similar to the landscaping of Singapore, a country that scored a 6.6 out of 8 for the average life evaluation in the United Nations World Happiness Report. According to Lisa Nisbet, a PhD psychologist at the Trent University in Ontario, there is, quote, mounting evidence from dozens and dozens of researchers that nature has benefits for both physical and psychological human well-being. This is why we are proposing that the city incorporate green infrastructure into pre-existing and future office buildings, apartment complexes, shopping centers, schools, etc. But with more greenery comes the need for water, and as a solution to this, we are proposing that we begin collecting rainwater through a rooftop rainwater harvesting system. From October to April of this year, El Segundo has received approximately 65.7 million gallons of water. Imagine how much money we could save if we started capturing even just a fraction of that. To demonstrate how we can begin collecting rooftop rainwater, I have taken the area of the roof of the K building at ESHS, which is approximately 13,000 square feet. To design this, we will need a proper catchment area and a conveyance system, which we already have. We'll also need a filter, a main tank, a pump for accessing the water, and an overflow well that will lead to groundwater. With this system, we'll be able to capture approximately 91,029 gallons of water, which can be used for a multitude of things. For this particular installation, it would cost roughly $100,000, which may seem expensive at first, but will greatly reduce our spending on water in the future.
The future is based on our ability to work together and build communities because we are stronger together than apart. We want to create a live, work, play facility in order to create a community and achieve the goals of the future. Live, work, play developments have become increasingly popular due to the advantages they have over your typical neighborhood. Some of these benefits include convenience, broad options, and community. One of the major benefits of mixed-use development is its convenience. In addition to great homes, live, work, play communities are built close to employment centers, shopping centers, and other services. They support remote working and a multitude of recreational opportunities. Live, work, play developments provide broad options where new homeowners can find a place no matter the size they need. The El Segundo population is spread out between all ages, so we need to account for homes of any age. Mixed-use development can create a stronger community. Shared areas and services make it easier to form long-lasting bonds with your neighbors, creating a real sense of connection.
Smoky Hollow as the best area that we can implement one of these live, work, play communities in order to attract all kinds of people to work and live in El Segundo.
Our idea was to make Smoky Hollow a mixed-use district, and to do that we were thinking of remodeling and cleaning the unused buildings to attract companies to start their businesses there and open up for people looking for jobs. We also wanted to add multiple stories so people can live right above their workplace without the need for transportation.
With this, we get to lower our housing costs because it's more cost-effective to allow buildings to have their companies right down below and residents right above. One of these locations is on Grand and Kansas and can be developed really well and has been abandoned for quite a few years.
The curriculum of schools in El Segundo and the surrounding areas need to be addressed. Recorded by the Mona Morshed from the Global Education Practice, also known as GEP, stated that 70% of students at all grade levels who drop out don't have any real-world experience. They also state that 62% of graduates lack the skills necessary for effective oral and written communication. 58% lack a sense of work ethic and professional conduct, and 56% lack any specific career training.
Our idea is to implement more career-based learning to solve the problems of unready students. The implementation of these classes would allow for students to decide what they want to do early on. Our idea is to start implementing career-based learning such as medical, engineering, laboratory science, woodworking, technology, journalism, marine science, automotive, and more. The addition of these subjects enables kids to graduate from school with these skills, furthering their desire for a particular education. Early inclusion of these courses, such as in middle school, can help kids build a future that suits them. For example, an article by the National Association for Music Education states, "Infusing career education into the teacher education curriculum is a process that should begin at the time a student enters the university."
Students should be provided internships so they can improve their educational goals and objectives. For instance, in a class focused on journalism, you may implement an internship from businesses in El Segundo region or nearby at the end of the session, allowing students to shadow these people in their chosen career. And with the assistance of the City Council, the future workforce can profit from an innovative curriculum and education system that incorporates internships and career-based learning.
A kind of fair that will draw people to the companies of El Segundo. This fair would include booths that, for instance, would line the high school during snack and lunch. Students would be able to browse the area and approach only businesses or interests they desire to learn more about. This may make it possible for people to sign up for internships there, and possibly for clubs that the instructors of that kind of curriculum might offer. This career fair can be implemented for middle school and above. It would be an amazing opportunity given by the companies in El Segundo to give back to their community and find bright minds in the next generations. This would enable businesses to engage with the neighborhood and increase brand recognition by speaking with residents.
A job search poll was created and sent out to adults and teens within the El Segundo area. First, the participants were asked if they have a job and how they acquired that position. Over 40% of participants answered that they got their job either through a friend or another personal connection. The next question participants were asked was, do they know where to look for a job? 55.6% of participants answered no, that they do not know where to look for a job. Next, we asked if they knew how to make themselves a proper candidate for the position when a job is hiring, and over 60% of participants said that they did not. Lastly, we asked if a clearly posted job bulletin would be helpful for those in search of a job, and 100% said yes. On the current City of El Segundo website, there is a job opportunities section. However, under this section, only job opportunities within departments directly related to the city are posted. Creating an addition to the Job Opportunities tab on the city website that would list the City of El Segundo job opportunities along with the private company job opportunities would create a more accessible way to look for a job. These additional tabs would also separate job opportunities into categories and list what qualifications you may need to acquire a position.
Our group is in charge of funding all programs our class created to attract the workforce of the future. We came up with two main ideas of providing cash flow, namely the butterfly market and the ballot initiative.
Our group came up with the idea of a swap meet as a way of attracting more diverse businesses and groups of people. Fostering diverse communities is important to building a strong economy, as diversity is proven to have a beneficial impact. For instance, a study conducted by McKinsey & Company, a global management consulting firm, shows how diversity correlates with better financial performance. Additionally, swap meets are also ubiquitous and lucrative. Quoting the Los Angeles Times, swap meets have become a multi-billion-dollar industry supporting thousands of vendors across the country. Swap meets and farmers markets have also become part of SoCal, so it makes sense to capitalize on that culture. For example, one of the U.S. largest open-air markets is the flea market in San Jose, which features 2,400 vendors and brings in 4 million people a year. El Segundo is already known for its charming small-town vibe, and a swap meet would increase community engagement, promote local businesses, and encourage other small businesses to start here.
Our group conducted a poll to see the community feedback in regards to a monthly swap meet. 69.2% would be interested in El Segundo hosting a monthly butterfly market. 34.6% want to participate in the butterfly market. They also responding with businesses they would like to see participate in the markets and other things they would like to see.
Our mission at the Butterfly Market is to create a vibrant and inclusive marketplace where people from all walks of life can come together to discover unique treasures, networks, and celebrate the community around them. The marketplace will provide a platform that promotes local businesses and small businesses from other cities to engage in more entrepreneurial opportunities. The swap meet can also be enjoyed by workers and citizens of El Segundo. We are committed to El Segundo's economic growth and want to welcome innovative and diverse businesses all around. The Butterfly Market business plan is to help organize and show what we envision for El Segundo's future.
Some of the strengths of the Butterfly Market are that we can guarantee community engagement that attracts people to our beautiful city. Cash flow is guaranteed, and even on the off chance that it is very minimal, the Butterfly Market would be an amazing opportunity to build communion and foot traffic to El Segundo. According to howtostartanllc.com, they state that it is reasonable to charge $300 to $1,000 for a space in the market. However, when we descale it to fit the needs and population of El Segundo, we find it is reasonable to charge $100 to $200 to vendors for a space. To maintain these strengths, we can advertise and promote businesses to participate in the Butterfly Market and encourage people to take a stroll. Once brands and companies commit to participating in the market, advertise their appearances through social media and newspapers.
In terms of smaller scale funding, in regard to the butterfly market, the city can charge the vendors for seller permits, which is Form CDTFA 410D, which can be found on the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration website. There will also be a fee for renting spaces at the market. Prices will differ depending on the square footage of the space. Also, depending on the scale of the market, an additional admission charge may be required for entry. Vendors can make between $200 to $500 a day.
Additionally, foot traffic will bring more businesses to not only the small vendors at the butterfly market, but also the businesses on Main Street, one of the main things that makes El Segundo, El Segundo.
Something we can do is to have many local businesses as sponsors, and we can also hold fundraisers in order to help with the funding of the butterfly market.
Another way we plan on funding our class's ideas is a ballot initiative which proposes a small local sales tax. The tax would add 25 cents to all transactions made in El Segundo, affecting both El Segundo residents, visitors, as well as businesses. We request that the City Council put our initiative on the ballot once we garner the required % of signatures from the voters of last year's general election. The tax would require a 2/3 vote majority once it is on the ballot, but we are confident that many will agree since other cities in Los Angeles County have already passed similar tax measures. The tax could earn approximately $3.25 million a year, and the money gained would directly fund our ideas to help the workforce of the future in El Segundo.
All right, we're going to open for questions and comments from my colleagues, and we're going to start with Abby. We're going to start with Alice.
So this is okay. So this is for the group concerning the building of housing in Smoky Hollow. A lot of your video emphasizes more in amenities for minorities and to make El Segundo more of a accessible place to those types of people. How do you plan on making the housing more affordable? Because if you look at the wealth gap between those just in general, especially in the United States, you'll know that it's harder for those with lower incomes to actually afford El Segundo.
Yeah, so we're looking to expand on all areas of Smoky Hollow because there's a lot of empty property where even if there's minimal housing, we can implement any type of housing to support anyone who wants to stay in the area.
Okay, my question is about the green/sustainable environment and like the rainwater harvesting. How exactly, can you elaborate a little bit more on how that relates to the workforce of the future?
Well, I feel like if El Segundo is seen to uphold these values, such as like cultural appreciation and environmental awareness, they would be moved to they'd want to move here because we appreciate those. So with that, they might see it as a good place to live, the future workforce.
Thanks for sharing. I have one question. Where would you host your butterfly market?
We were thinking about hosting it at Rec Park, and if not possible, then Main Street.
Mine is similar to Kat's. What is the new farmers market gonna do for the future workforce?
Well, as I said when I answered the last question, if we appreciate these values, they would be moved to want to come here. And I feel like if we appreciate the culture, then people would feel welcomed here and want to come here.
So would there be any parking for this beach shuttle that's been proposed?
My group wasn't pertaining to this, but I can say that we're just looking for any open areas. We'd try to find space near the parking structures. We haven't but the bus stops or the shuttle stops, we would look towards finding areas just around that situation.
So would it be mostly street parking then, or?
As of right now, we only have a plan for street parking, yeah. Do you have something?
For buses and including buses, it's going to mean there's less need for parking as there's less cars.
What about people who are commuting or don't live near a bus stop?
That's why we did. Is it you? We proposed a lot of interconnectivity with cities around El Segundo to help with that problem.
I think I'm gonna circle back to maybe about the diversity that you guys were trying to include. Oh, no, hold that. I get it's a very good idea to have it into the city, and there's nothing wrong with that. But we're looking at the workforce, and I think these should be focused on what the actual companies are doing. If these companies are withholding these values, then yes, the workforce will come. I think it's secondary that the city does it, because if people are coming here to work originally, then that's what they're looking for.
Well, not to go against what you said is correct, but I also feel that one of the things we want to do is people come here and they want to stay here.
Yeah.
So we're keeping the people, and as a city, we can only influence public policy. We can't just tell jobs, this is what you have to do.
If we had public policies at least that would establish certain things in workplaces, that would allow people to want to come here because they know the city is focusing on those issues within the workplace, not just the city as a whole.
Could you rephrase that question? That didn't quite make sense.
I'm trying to say that if you're just going to say that the city is going to allow housing for everyone, that's great. I would hope so. But I would also hope so that you guys are saying that these businesses individually have these things set up so that when they do come to work here, that they don't have to even worry about that because it already is implemented.
Well, the idea is building a inclusive culture around the city that will help influence businesses to act the same.
But I think it should be I don't think that's a wrong thing. All I'm saying is I think it should be about,
Yeah, we can't just tell a business you have to be more inclusive. We have.
Can I ask a Smoky Hollow housing question? I noticed a lot of the groups talk about like the first 100 blocks, right? That first block off of the refinery for housing in some format. I was curious. That's largely historically been mitigated by safety concerns from the refinery for emergency management. Do you advocate a complete rezone of that to let them be a maximum density, or? You know, I'm just curious, or is it more conditional uses, so there's caretaker units?
So I'm not sure if this completely pertains, but we've talked with companies such as Chevron and Mattel. They would like to see these, like the workplace communities implemented in the area so that they can have direct access between their workers and their office space, like, so they're like right nearby in the same area.
Right, my concern is that if there's a big fire,
yeah.
Does the fire department have to fight the fire or evacuate people from that first tranche of buildings, that first row of buildings? So I'm just curious, if we were going to expand that, how many, is it 4 units per building, 10 units, 100 units?
Yeah, there'd be a, like, to, yeah, okay. Yeah, we would have a lot of units in this, so we would have to take a look at the fire concerns and different agreements with the fire department to make sure this is a safe community.
I just had a follow-up question with that about the Smoky Hollow living. So over there, if I'm like remembering correctly, there's not that great of parking. So would you implement parking over there, or would you or would there be parking like just blocks away?
Yeah, so there is minimal parking as of currently, but when we're looking to create these mixed-use facilities, we will also be looking to find new spots for parking. And if that means like just rezoning and reconstructing some places, taking some down for parking, then we might have to do that in order to make these mixed-use facilities effective.
Okay, thank you.
One more question. In the video, you guys were talking about the city fair and how you were trying to incorporate like Torrance and other cities. How would you incorporate them? Like, would it be a contract-based relationship, or would you just ask like the city of Torrance and hope that like they have some kindness in their heart to participate in the city fair?
Well, I do believe in more human decency, and I feel like it will also bring growth not just to El Segundo, but to communities around us. And so asking the city of Torrance for similar events and programs they'll probably be on board. And if like 1 or 2 starts coming on board, it'll like snowball and there'll be more and more.
I have another question for the work-based learning. You guys just detail on it and kind of talk briefly about it. Did you guys have any data into how you would prepare teachers for that, whether it be field training or would it be in a classroom? Any more details?
So our problem was tackling the internships in work-based learning. So when we have internships with companies that are in El Segundo, we can implement those with teachers who have experience in those certain companies. So let's say as a company of Ocean X, there's people who have experience in marine biology, and those people can teach these students at a middle school and college level in between on how to learn about marine biology and these things. So it really puts a perspective in learning early on. So work-based learning was more not focused on the teachers that we have right now, but more focused on what can these companies teach the students that are younger so that they're more prepared for the future.
What is your idea on creating a student internship pipeline? And how would you get students into these internships?
So as we said in the video, job fairs and company fairs were our main tackles. So we were thinking of having more of these companies coming out into these fairs that can line in the El Segundo Middle School as well as El Segundo High School, and also probably with the help of El Camino and some of these schools like that. So having these companies line up and really just fighting to have more internships, whether they're paid or not, so it could really just implement into the school directly.
How would this be biannually, or how often would this be held?
I think as we researched with some of the schools who have had this in the past, usually it was like every 6 months, so every semester change or quarter change depending on the system that they use. So by allowing these companies to come out every semester, it can really just widen the perspective of all the students to really join in.
Time is...
First of all, you're the only group that actually talks about that, all right, which is very important. You're both right, but for different reasons. Okay, so if last city council meeting we had companies in here with the Economic Development Corporation in here, and they were talking about the diversification of their workforce. That was important to them. Your job here was to talk about how does the city allow that to happen? How do they reinforce that ideal? So it's kind of a domino effect. We as council and as a city have to set it up so that we show that we value these things. Then the businesses have to actually put that into action to attract you, because in 5 years, you're trying to figure out how to get you. So that's why you're both correct on what you're saying, just for different reasons. I just want to make sure, because you were the only ones that brought that up, and we found out 2 weeks ago that it is the top three, attainable housing, DEI, and I think it was green space and recreational. Those are the three major things that the companies in El Segundo are looking to do to help attain and attract and retain a workforce. So, well done.
The DEI was one of the people we did try to get in contact with or the El Segundo DEI department. Yeah. Yeah. It's a little bit personal experience. Back elementary school, or where I used to go to elementary school, we'd have this big event, and it's just cultural inclusion. They'd bring like snacks, food, and I think that definitely provided a lot of cultural identity and diversity and inclusion among people.
Speaking of creative ways, I thought it was interesting too. How did you come up with the idea of a new revenue source of the quarter cent sales tax item? That was pretty creative.
Well, first my group looked in a parcel tax, but then we found out that wouldn't be very popular, so we thought a ballot initiative would be a better way of doing that.
Questions are now closed.
You guys have a couple of minutes to confer, or I don't know how so the voting council, and then the city council will break a tie. Or we can do the mayor. Mayor Boyles? Mayor Boyles, would you like to be the tiebreaker if there is a tie? Let's put it on the mayor's then.
They can't vote for their group.
Guys, do we want to vote? Do we want to not
there's 3 from each
be able to
class,
vote for
so that
ourselves,
one-
or do we want to be able to vote for anybody?
That's what Lance was just saying. Let's make it, this is a new rule, because we did have a tie last year. You can't vote for your own class.
Okay.
All right? There we go.
Hey, how about the 4 of us decide who, before these ballots are counted, which was the best group?
Why don't you guys confer for a couple of minutes?
All right.
What do you think? What do you think? Is your number in here? Is your number in here? Are you guys keeping the tally? Yeah, you guys want to keep the tally. You're the official. Yeah, I'm just going to read which period you guys tally it. I can't believe you sat through the whole meeting with your little air thing on. let them announce them first.
No, I'm going to talk. The council is split.
All right, are we ready to tally the votes? All right, vote number 1. I feel like Survivor right now. Period 2 got 1 vote. I don't know what that is. Looks like a backwards 4. I don't know whose Egyptian hieroglyphics that might be, but it looks like a period 4. Period 2 got another vote. Period 3 is on the board. Period 3 is on the board. Another for period 3. Period 1 received a vote. Period 1 received another vote. Period 2 is back. Period 2 is back. Period 1. And last vote, period 3. Wait, they gotta announce that.
There's a tie.
Alice.
There's a tie between period 2 and period 3.
Hey, Craig, can I say a few words? I just want to take a moment and validate all the great ideas that you students came up with, because a lot of these things we've already talked about. Councilmember Giroux already mentioned that we're focused specifically on diversity, equity, and inclusion. We're the first city in the South Bay to stand up a committee within a city to do so. But a bunch of other ideas. The South Bay WIB, One Stop Job Center, that's something that's come up recently. I can't remember which group that was. That's a really good idea that we're going to look into. Bike lanes were mentioned, and Mayor Pro Tem Pimentel and I have been working with the Council of Governments and the rest of our colleagues on what's called a local travel network. So that's basically going to connect El Segundo to the rest of the South Bay, ideally, through bikes, e-bikes, golf carts, and other slow-speed vehicles. So another good idea that's going to come to fruition at some point. Internships, we've talked a lot about internships. We think there's a significant opportunity. Maybe it's not the city to line it up. Maybe it's working in conjunction with the school district. But it even came up recently in our city school subcommittee just last week. So that's another really good salient idea. Former Stickenstein, who brought that up? Taking that property, that was a good one. That's a private transaction, private property, and it's been bought recently. A developer that's had a lot of success here in El Segundo and Smoky Hollow, they're going to convert that to, well, they have plans if they get approval. I don't know where Michael Allen is, but they want to build housing there and mixed use. So hopefully that blighted property will change. More green space, that is something that we're talking about with future development, is how can we incorporate green space when developers want to build property. Like when Raytheon sold some of their property for the Chargers to come to town, there's a green space requirement for that. So we're looking at that. Another great idea y'all came up with. The movie theater. That movie theater, I just met with the guy that owns the property there, Richard Lundquist, and they have met with 2 different theater companies recently in the last few years since COVID to no avail, because that industry has been completely turned upside down. So they're really struggling to figure out what to do with that property. Love the acknowledgement that whoever said this, they didn't say it maybe explicitly, but it was definitely implied that California is a very difficult place to do business because of regulation and taxes. That is a very true statement, and something that we focus on really intently here in El Segundo is how do we make it as business friendly as possible. And then someone brought up I think, was there an idea about a partnership or an incubator? No. We are working on an accelerator, though, as a city. So someone alluded to that, one of the groups, but we're working on an accelerator that would take small fledgling companies, like early stage companies, and spin them up. So that's something that is in the works also. That was somebody brought that up, right? Jack? Good idea. And let's see what else. Okay, we talked about diversity. Water conservation ideas, also really interesting, whoever had that. I think there's a lot of low-hanging fruit in the city in terms of doing more to conserve water, so I like that idea too. And then parking in Smoky Hollow, many of the groups mentioned that. You guys familiar, there's actually a pilot program underway where we're gonna stripe some of the streets. What streets are those? Nevada, you guys remember? Okay, so Nevada going 2 blocks west, we're gonna stripe those with additional parking, angle parking, and one-way streets. So that's coming as well. So all really good stuff. Did you have a comment, question? You're just, okay. Yeah, okay, cool. So anyway, I'm sure my Mayor Pro Tem. Yeah, that's great. So really good ideas. I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues, but I just want to say it's been a privilege. I said this last couple times I've seen students come by. Craig, Mr. Gast, great job. I mean, this is the future of our workforce and our great city, and you all are representing us incredibly well with your questions and your thoughtfulness. So thank you for being here, and I'll turn it over to my colleagues.
Baldino leave already? Yeah, you did? Oh, there you are. You get to go first.
Okay. So, guys, we hear a lot of presentations from consultants and professionals, and the quality of your ideas, the way you organize your thoughts, we're on par with people who do this for a living. So I'm just impressed with the level of thought you put into it, the ability to work together. We have a huge home viewing audience I forget about. So in Some Nation, I just want to really compliment you and thank you for putting the time and thought into the presentations that you gave today. And I think some of your ideas are going to carry forward. So your job's not done here. If you want more bike paths, you want more parking for e-bikes and that, keep coming back. Tell your elected officials, this is why we're here, to listen to you, to make these ideas happen. So once again, good job, everybody.
All right, this is a great topic because we are literally dealing with this in real time right now. I mean, a lot of the things that you just talked about have been on agendas or on future agendas, and it's really going to help shape what goes on the next 5 years. So just to echo Councilmember Baldino's comments, your presentations are tremendous. You know, I've had a couple of opportunities recently to see your class, I think in particular, make presentations. Those at the AP research presentations, which were amazing. I couldn't believe that there are high school kids actually doing this. You're so far ahead of me where I was at that age. Being able to speak in front of people and present your ideas in a cohesive way is a lost art. And you being able to do this shows a lot about your development, your character, your teachers, and looks like a bright future. So again, thank you very much for everything. Some great ideas, and I'm sure we'll act on some of them.
I just want to take a minute to also thank all of my students for all of their hard work. All of you, win, loss, or draw, did an amazing job. You spent a lot of time, even with me pushing you and constantly kind of giving you little pushes and shoves to do the right thing on some of these videos. You guys did a great job, and you really surprised me with the final product. I was pleasantly surprised by several of the classes. I also want to take the time to thank the city again for working with us and giving us the time. I don't see Stephanie and Barbara, but they've helped tremendously, helped organize and set this all up. Thank you all for your time answering the kids' emails when they contacted the city. They got responses from you and suggestions. And I also want to thank my school board and my principals for always supporting us in everything that we're doing here as well. Thank you all for all your time.
All right, last but certainly not least, we have a distinguished also going to alum amongst us as an elected official. So, City Clerk Weaver, your final comments, please.
No, just they were amazing. It's so fun to listen and see what your ideas are. And from a town that I grew up in, it's great ideas, guys. Really good. Anyways, thank you for doing this day.
School board, thank you. Thank you,
Oh, that's right. Oh, it's one last thing. One last thing, if I could. I'm sorry. Last time we were here, Mayor Boyles put me on the spot to cook lunch for everybody. I made all of the city officials homemade lasagna. There are 2 trays of lasagna out there. You are going to have to heat them yourself, though. I apologize for that. But there is one that's meatless and one with meat. So there's a couple dozen slices of lasagna. Stephanie, thank you, Stephanie, for helping me set that up. I appreciate that. So enjoy your lunch. Anybody from the school board or admin, there's just not space to heat it all up here, so I have pieces at the campus if any of you want that. So as soon as we get back, I'll serve up anybody's lunch that they want. Students, you'll get your lunches that earned them next week.
Our initial
I did email a few, but probably maybe you didn't get them.
Our group initially